Cool, man. So the NWC Show, episode 62, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Mekz on WrestleManiac UK. Like Barry out here, I cover all the kind of shows week to week, day to day. And of course, we've just got an absolutely mental looking weekend of wrestling. So, I couldn't help but myself when I got the call to come on here and talk about what's going to happen. Couldn't help myself but appear. But yeah.
Definitely, man. Especially coming out of the pandemic. Obviously, we've had quite a quiet, nothing. Wrestling's not really been great. There's been nothing kind of going on. And then it just seems if everything's just hammed in such a short period of time. It's like, well, no, what, guys? We just need to release everybody. And here's all the other shit we were trying to tell you. But I mean, thanks for being on. You've obviously been on the show before, which I think you were on like 3 or 4 months ago. I think you were on before WrestleMania. So it's a...
Maybe. I can't remember how long ago it's been, yeah.
I should have probably looked this up, but obviously, as always, I'm not that professional. I've been running around today. So, so the first thing that, if people don't know you, go subscribe to your channel. I love the stuff that you're doing. I love the show that you're doing where you're bringing, like talking about black wrestlers and stuff like that as well. I think that's really cool. Brings a spotlight to it. So talking about that, the one thing I want to ask is, it's really pissed me off is how they fumbled Apollo Crews. How could they have fumbled that guy? So, like, he's literally tailor-made to be in that main event or upper mid-card picture. And they have and where did he go? They've somehow just, like, he's no there.
Yeah, they built him up really well with the new gimmick and stuff before WrestleMania. He took the belt from Big E at WrestleMania, of course, the Intercontinental title. And then, he was still tangling with Big E here and there on SmackDown. But what I even found out the other day, the Intercontinental Championship has not been on a pay-per-view since WrestleMania. Now, just for a belt of that lineage, isn't that just absolutely crazy? Yet, SummerSlam weekend, we're getting Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss. That could be the Intercontinental sport, and it doesn't matter about Apollo Crews or whoever's being, whoever's black or whatever the case is. It's just a case of the belt should be on the pay-per-view. And since Apollo Crews' run started dying down, Nakamura started getting some speed, especially with the King Nakamura stuff. Even, Nakamura won the title, a week ago, 2 weeks ago on SmackDown? Why didn't they just keep that for SummerSlam? It makes zero sense. But Apollo Crews has shown is with this new character that he has got, even like, if you want to call it comedic chops in him as well, to kind of, you need some type of character to be able to display a character like this. So yeah, he definitely has the tools, and he still needs to learn a bit more, probably in terms of that speaking and all the charismatic stuff that WWE love. But definitely someone for the future that they can keep using. They've used him a lot in the last year, Intercontinental Champion, US Champion before when it was on Raw in the pandemic era. So I think he's definitely, it's a low period right now for him, but there should be more to come.
Definitely, man. I don't know. It really kind of didn't sit right with me. I'm like, this guy could have went on and had like a great match at SummerSlam. Like you just says, I didn't even realise that championship hasn't been on a pay-per-view. Plus, for some reason, they have just totally like this character perfectly made. Obviously, they started at WrestleMania when they done the drum match that nobody really knew what a drum match was.
What the hell was that? And the funny thing, throughout the match, they didn't even use a drum. I know. They used everything else under the sun that was there, but didn't touch a drum. Like, maybe the drum had COVID on it or something. Who knows? But
they could have done like, it'll be like the sound waves make COVID travel, man, or something like that. But I was like, they could have done something, explained the match. It was like, no, we're going to have a drum match because, well, there's no explanation needed in WWE. But man, I don't know. Even with Bobby Lashley, somebody who looks insane, like the guy is just jacked. Like for a 40-year-old, you're like, literally, if I look like that at 40. I don't look like that at the noon. I'm only 30. Like, I'm trying my hardest in the gym, but it's like if I look like that at 40, that's going to be insane. And I don't know. For me, I just feel like he's just there. I feel like even he might feel that because there's nobody that on Raw. There's nothing there.
The thing. Like, I'm very much predicting come SummerSlam, just because there's a lack of faces, baby faces on Raw, they may have to do something like Big E cashing in at SummerSlam on him, after he defends against Goldberg, because there is literally no, apart from Bob, of course, Drew McIntyre, but of course, Drew McIntyre can't go after Bobby Lashley anymore while he's champion. So there is a lack of people over there. They're gonna need to pull some type of trick. I really feel Bobby Lashley has been hard done by. It seems like he came back to WWE for this Lesnar match, which he doesn't look like he's ever gonna get at this point.
And the Drew McIntyre thing was such a weird, like, for some reason, like when they went, oh, we're just got to take him out the main event, but like, you can't have that title shot when I've got the belt, and I'm like, he's the only guy that's there. That makes sense. And then we'll bring Kofi up, and it's like, well, nobody believes Kofi's going to beat Bobby Lashley. Look at the size difference alone. Like, Bobby Lashley looks like he could just kill Kofi. So I was like,
literally,
what is this? Like, why are you doing this? Like, how Kofi against Drew for a #1 contender match might have been cooler than just like tell a story, but just being like, you know what? Let's Hell in the Cell it, because that's the only thing we've got this month. Which it's so annoying, but like, you're like, what else did they do with Raw? There seems to be nobody.
And it's funny that they pushed their draft back to October, when it was supposed to be more or less this next week, following SummerSlam. That was the initial reports, but now they've pushed it back to October, and it's like, how can we endure another month of this with no booking ideas? And that's what makes me think with Big E, with the briefcase, they can definitely do something to move him across literally straight away. But with everyone else, like, we're getting at least another month or two of the same kind of matchups before this draft comes. So yeah, buckle up for that.
Man, it's just awkward to watch WWE at the minute. And you can say the same for AEW, but I know yourself, who obviously seen on Twitter and stuff like that, you're a bit shocked by the NXT news. So what do you feel like? I feel this pay-per-view is like, like the swan song of NXT. Like, it's the final pay-per-view and then it's just gone. What we knew of it is just getting took out the back and shot.
Basically.
What's your feeling about what they're going to be doing to it? No, just...
I really have no idea. And this past week, where they've been in Las Vegas, they've just done a trial, and I think they've just signed about, was it 13 or 15 new signees from Las Vegas area maybe. And it's going to be even interesting to see what they just aesthetically look like, because that might be very telling. If we see just a load of tall, massive men and women from, basketball and NFL backgrounds and stuff like that, then the direction they're going in is pretty much of the old school mold of things. But, I don't think Triple H ever made like a massive mistake with NXT. I think the criticism on him has been harsh. The one thing, like I've been saying, is that he produced stars, but he didn't produce stars that Vince thinks are stars. He didn't produce guys and girls in the mold of what Vince likes. So that's why the minute they got to main roster, changed their hair, changed their name, changed their everything. So it's very scary, I think, whatever NXT is gonna look like now. But I do think that Vince McMahon, so they get it right, so there's some continuity from NXT to the main roster, Vince needs to have some type of influence on NXT. And it sounds mad for me to even think. People probably think I'm going mad saying that. But otherwise, we're going to keep saying, when people get called up, total changes to who we thought it was. So he needs to be influencing down there if this is really what he wants to do in terms of developmental.
And definitely. I think it's just, I don't know, I hope they don't go back to like the way it was in the early 90s. Like, cause I used to do the watch-alongs for 1993 Raw, and I had to stop because it was just killing my soul. Like, it was so hard to watch, so I was like, I need to stop this. And I can just see like NXT having like Karrion Kross with like clown makeup on, like Johnny Gargano coming out and doing like their dances, and I'm like, please, having nightmares waiting up.
I don't think it will go back to the days of like characters like that. I just think it might go back to the days of the big old bodybuilders and that sort of wrestling. Which it may be people's style, it may not be people's style, but we just have to wait and see, don't we?
Definitely. So we've got a question in the comments, and it says, I think Damian Priest should win the US Championship from Sheamus. this is the right time to put the gold on him. What's your thoughts? I think that's correct. Priest looks amazing, and the only way to make him come back from that zombie disaster is to give him that belt.
That's true. The only thing I was thinking, because I was doing a prediction show last night, the only thing I was thinking is that, Sheamus hasn't really done anything on this run of his or the US Championship. So at the same time, where yes, it looks like all roads are pointing to Priest winning at SummerSlam tomorrow night, this may be them kind of starting Sheamus's run. Really starting his run. If he is actually injured and he needs more time off because he can't wrestle properly because of the injury, then yeah, they just put it on Priest. But if he's fine and just using the mask as a gimmick now, then yeah, maybe they keep it on him. At the same time, this is WWE. Sheamus can retain at SummerSlam, and on Monday Night Raw, Damian Priest can win it in a rematch. So yeah, you never know.
If it was me booking it, I would book Sheamus to get the cheap heat, cheap win, roll up or whatever, hit him with a chair, do something to cause him to get win, and then go to Extreme Rules, because then you can set up an Extreme Rules match or whatever. Yeah. You get 2 pay-per-views out of it, but it's WWE. We're not going to see that. It'll be like Monday Night Raw rematch. Cage.
Yeah, and maybe you're right, because at the same time, yes, we're seeing Damian Priest and Sheamus, but The Miz and Morrison have been somewhat involved in this, so we need to kind of get them completely away from this feud, and then maybe do something, extend this feud a bit, so it is just Sheamus and Damian Priest in the picture.
I think it's going to be a great match. These 2 guys
definitely
are just brutal. They can just put on a good match with whoever they work with. But like he says, we need to get The Miz and Morrison away from, just away. Like, just take them away from that situation. There's no need for them to be in. Be in there. Like, it's just, I don't know. For me, I was saying this morning, Scotch Retro Wrestling, what I had them on, WWE just feels kind of like especially Raw. SmackDown's only Roman Reigns that's there, really. But then, like, Raw, for some reason, every Tuesday, I'm like, I dread going to watch it, because I'm like, I can't go watch this. I'm going to put myself in a bad mood. And that's always the day that, like, work is just so much harder, because I'm like, why is Eva Marie back? Why have they called fucking Piper Niven Dewdrop? Like, I just pisses me off. Man, so talking about Scottish wrestlers, because obviously I'm from Scotland and we're in the UK. So, what's your thoughts on Nikki Ash? I'm Scottish, I'll say it. Some ideas are terrible. They shouldn't get out the drawing board. You should have just left them in there. What's your thoughts on it?
You know what? There's a certain level of respect I have for her, because of course we heard from Big Damo that this was her idea. She wanted to do this and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, with wrestling, especially in the WWE, you need to know what Vince likes. If Vince is going to be the guy to put you on TV, you need to know what Vince likes. And yes, that might be compromising your character and all of that and who you are. But she's clearly made a move here that, I'm going to design this character, but Vince is going to like this kind of character. And if this is what I need to do to get on TV every week, then I'm going to do it. And personally, I do respect that. Now, the character isn't for you and me, obviously. They believe it's for children. It'll be very interesting if we asked a child, are you into this stuff? What they would say. But big up Nikki Ash, because it's getting her on TV every week. She won Money in the Bank. She's women's champion right now. I believe she's going to defend that championship at SummerSlam. She's not going to take the pin for Charlotte or Nikki. But I don't think it'll be like a long run. But like I said, she's done what she needed to do to get on TV, and that's ultimately what it's about, isn't it? So
definitely, man, I agree with that side. But like, I've spoke to my kids, so I've been like, "Do you like this?" My daughter's like, "No." Like,
well, there you go then, yeah.
And I'm like, what am I meant to do to get you to like it? And she just just walked away. Like, it isn't for everybody. I don't know who WWE's marketing it to, but like he says, it gets on TV, it increases her stock in the company. I would agree with you. I think she's going to get the win. There's no reason why they have to put the belt back on Rhea, because they fumbled that so much. And then Charlotte, I don't know. I think somebody might riot if Charlotte gets the belt back.
Exactly.
She just holds it. Like, they're not even making it like a cool, like, arsehole kind of character that she is. It's just like, it's just we know you're good and you're just there. You're just really, really annoying. No, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm Raw. It just kills me. Honestly, and it's so shit. Like Bobby Lashley, like I says, he's so good. He done really good stuff in Impact and TNA and stuff like that, and then like he's got the MMA style, and you've got Riddle there, who used to be in the UFC. You've got two guys that could tell the MMA style in the ring, and you just don't do it. I'm like, the story's there.
Well, they kind of touched on those two when Bobby Lashley was US champion, if you remember. Riddle pinned Morrison in a triple threat match to win the US championship. So yeah, I think, and to be honest, now that you've mentioned Riddle, if he wasn't in this tag team stuff right now, he is like the next biggest baby face on Raw that could go after Bobby Lashley, but he's obviously preoccupied right now. But yeah, like you're saying, Bobby Lashley has kind of pulled the short stick here because he looks fantastic. He looks amazing. He's kind of run through. Okay, I say run through, but it has mainly been Drew over the past year. Kofi's gonna, been added to that list. Goldberg will be added to that list, and it's a case of who's next. Like, they need to really sort out this because at the end of the day, he's holding the WWE Championship. That is supposed to be the top title in this company. But I was saying earlier in the week, if we look at the SummerSlam card, if we're to like rank the SummerSlam card in terms of match importance and stuff, if we're honest with ourselves, our WWE Championship should probably be like the lower mid card out of all of the matches. Like, it's behind Edge and Rollins. It's behind the SmackDown Women's Championship match, at least for me. It's behind the Universal Championship match. Even, Sheamus and Damian Priest that we were saying earlier has been a bit more intriguing in terms of the build. So, yeah, the WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley, they need to get pulled out of the mud, in my opinion.
Definitely, man. Like you just said, it does feel like a mid-card championship. It just kind of feels like what the old Intercontinental Championship used to feel like back in like when we were younger. Obviously, we're old men shouting about wrestling on YouTube. But it just feels like it's there, and it's so shit because Bobby Lashley deserves to be in that. Like back in 2006 when he got the ECW World Championship, nobody liked that, nobody cared, and it was like, make this guy the world champion. He's got the look, and then they left. And then he came back and we're like, he's going to be the world champion or he's going to be like up there. And it's just, no, it's kind of mid-carded for a world belt. And you're like, ah. But I need to get your thoughts on, what do you think about, I mean, I can't say this with a straight face. What do you think about Lily, the winking doll?
Again, I don't think this is for us, but yet the people that they think it may be for, I don't know what they think if it's for them either. Like, it's just this Alexa Bliss Fiend gimmick. I actually have enjoyed it. I think her performance in it has been very, very good. But this is typical WWE. You're making people's lives harder with attaching silly gimmicks to stuff. Like, you're making, and it's hard for her because already the Fiend isn't there. The Fiend has been detached from her whole story. So she's doing a character which it was never her idea in the first place. Now she's been given a doll. And at the same time, I feel like, just to go off topic a bit, with Drew, they've made him into some history teacher. He's told the story of his sword, and I like the fact they've tied the whole his mom aspect into it and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's pretty nice. But you've lumbered him with this sword that he now just has to carry around, and it's like, why are you making it difficult for this guy to get over? Like, it's very pantomime-ish. It's very, this is for the kids kind of stuff. And I saw a picture of Drew earlier on today. I think obviously they're all in Las Vegas getting ready for the weekend and stuff, doing their, signings with fans. And they've started selling inflatable swords. And we're probably going to see them in the crowd at SummerSlam. And I was just thinking, oh my God, but they're probably selling lilies as well. Who knows what they're selling in that WWE shop? But yeah, I'm just not into it. Like, the one time I did laugh at Lily was, I think that segment she done when I think Eva Marie kicked her on the floor or something like that, and she sat up like the Undertaker. I thought, okay, that's cool, but it's not for us, man.
Well, my son was sitting and he likes old wrestling, so he likes like Sting and stuff like that. So we sit and watching that, and then like he looked up and I was like, oh, look, Drew McIntyre's got a sword. And he was like, why does he not just stab the guy? And then look back down and I was poor.
It's true. It's true. Like, it's so true. Like, you've got a whole sword at ringside. Like, why would anyone enter the ring with you? Or why aren't you just using the sword? One or the other. It's crazy.
SCW, Steve just put inflatable swords going around the arena instead of being
100%. That's going to be the new craze this weekend.
Definitely. But see, the worst thing is, like, I don't know, the Americans might not relate a sword as being dangerous. It's like going to the ring with a gun, just sitting there. You would, I'm not going in the ring with a guy with a gun. It's the same as here. Like, I'm not going in the ring with a guy with a sword. But I don't get it. The whole history thing as well. As a proud Scottish person, really nationalistic, love my country. I don't care for it. Like, he's talking about like Loch Ness Monster and stuff. You're like, what are you talking about, man? Nobody speaks that from where you're from. If you spoke like that, you'd probably get punched in the face. But it's awkward.
And this is the problem. Is obviously he's performing this kind of stuff to a majority American market. So are they trying to make people think, you know, back home in Britain, in Scotland, this is what people talk about? Like, these are the normal conversations we have and all of this kind of stuff. Like, it's just a bad representation for everything brilliant they done, you know, back end of 2019, 2020, building Drew. They're just literally slowly unwinding everything. And he's going to have to climb that mountain again, you know, eventually.
It's so awkward as well, man, because in Scotland, obviously, we have things like haggis, which is disgusting. I like it, but most of the rest of the world think it's very weird. We have like all the weird stories that we have in, even anywhere in the UK, we have weird like old folk tales. Our countries are really, really old.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why are you talking about the Loch Ness Monster? Like, make it cool. Like, that's the... We're in Scotland as well. We hate when people talk about it because like it's our thing, like it's our it's our culture, and then you sit and talk about it and make fun of it, and it's like we get the picture, but it's done to death. Like, make it... Drew seemed cool, and then now they're like, no, what, sword, Loch Ness Monster, they'll just need to have a haggis suit soon, man, and I'll be like, great, thanks, you've just ruined
I can't even lie. Even when I think it was sometime earlier this year or maybe late last year when he started wearing the kilt, I said, this is a step too far. Like, we don't need to tie every superstar to a country. Like, you know, oh, he's representing this country. Like, we don't need to do that. And yeah, the kilt was one step, but fine. He was taking it off. Then he started telling the stories of, you know, old folk tales. And then now it's the sword. And it's like, oh, man.
The worst thing is, man, as well, like, it's like, it's no, if you didn't know he was from Scotland, like, anytime somebody from Scotland speaks, we have a very distinctive accent. We all sound the same, and we have a very, like, you know, he's from Scotland. Like, there's no need for us to be like, you know what, kilt, sword, Loch Ness Monster, we've got it sorted, guys. It makes no sense.
And the funny thing is, like we're saying, you know, as he built that momentum, won the Royal Rumble and stuff in 2020, he had nothing like that. You know, they were calling him the Scottish psychopath, and that's when he was like running around with Braun Strowman and Dolph Ziggler. They even dropped calling him the Scottish psychopath as they built him up. So it's like, you know what works to build this guy and, you know, make him a top guy because you did it. So why are you kind of regressing and changing all of that and changing his character? Like, this isn't character development. This is just like adding gimmicks that he doesn't need. This, you know, it's...
But I feel like you said as well, it's like what WWE do into it. Like, if the minute you start to get over, like what they done with Alexa Bliss, you started to get over, and then they're like, you know what, you need a Teddy, or you need something, like,
literally.
It's just weird. It's like, why do you need to? And in that aspect, it feels like 1993, 1994, when everybody has to come to the ring with like a cane or a hat on so they can sell like an accessory with their toy. And it's just like...
And that's exactly what it is. They're trying, okay, this person's getting over. Let's, you know, tie them to something that we can eventually turn into like a bit of merch and sell. And that's the only thing, you know, I think if Roman would come out with, you know, the the lays that he's been wearing as tribal chief. If he came out with that a lot more often, they would be selling it in the WWE shop. But obviously, people aren't that familiar with it. And obviously, the likes of Roman have a lot of control over his character. So yeah, but it's definitely not needed, man. They're killing these guys and girls that are working so hard to get over with little silly gimmicks and character changes. It's silly.
But it's just fun to look at how far wrestling has came. Obviously, the in-ring work is still great to this day, but from when we were younger, you had like these cool guys, like larger than life, that just kind of done their thing, and then we've got to this point, and it's just like, how did you get?
It's like a backwards move. We're moving. It's like it's almost cyclical. Like we started here, we moved away from it, and things are going good, and here we come back with make things like this again. It's just mad. But at the same time, Vince is a billionaire, so the people that are around him, they don't really have a leg to stand on to argue with him because he's rich. So
you can't, man. If it was me getting paid the money that they were getting, I'd be coming out with every gimmick you could imagine. You want me to ride an ostrich to the ring? Of course I'll do that. So whatever.
The thing is with wrestling, there's people that are allowed to do those kind of gimmicks. Like for instance, Rick Boogs, he's coming out with his guitar. He's just a bit of a mad guitar man, and that's perfectly fine for him. But when we're trying to turn our top stars into that, or no, that's not what they're here for. Every person, every character has their own thing. So when we're making, Alexa Bliss, who is what, a 5-time women's champion or something like that.
Yeah.
When we're making her walk around with a doll that has superpowers now, this is where it just loses me, because I'm not saying there's not a space for that in wrestling. There definitely is, but it's just not for her. It's not for him. Like, give these characters, these ideas you may have, to just somebody else that fits their personality more.
Somebody that can, like back in the day as well, you would have like those kind of weird characters at the very start of the show. So you'd have like the Job Squad, Goldust, all those guys were at the start to the mid card, and then it was the guys you want to see, like the Rock,
serious stuff.
Taker.
Yeah.
Taker was obviously, he's an exception to whatever
that's an exception,
because he's just good. But they were at the top end, and then you had the bottom end, but you had all the weird characters, and it was just, that made sense. Then now it's like, you know what we're going to do? Eva Marie, Alexa Bliss, winner gets the doll in a pole match, and you're just like, please stop it. You're hurting my senses here. But man, we've ranted about WWE enough there. So they do some good stuff.
Yeah.
Roman, Edge, and Seth Rollins has been pretty good. They've booked that.
I agree.
SmackDown. We'll just say SmackDown's been pretty good.
Very good.
The rest of it,
I agree.
is weird. The other one I was going to say, man, for Raw, I feel it's like when you're a kid and you're play fighting, and you always have that one friend that takes it a wee bit too far. It's like, why? And that's what Raw is. Like, they've just took it that bit too far. It's like, there's a show there doing something good. Why do you need to take it that?
It's incredible to think the exact same people write Raw, write SmackDown. It's the same writing team. Like, the only thing that's different are the superstars. But, for the last couple of years, even amongst trades and stuff like that, SmackDown has still been the more consistent show. It blows my mind every single time. And even with Raw being 3 hours, which people usually say is the issue, you've got more than enough superstars. Look at all the people you just released. Like, there is no reason, like we were seeing, earlier on last year and stuff like that. There's no reason we should be seeing Drew McIntyre in 3 or 4 segments. You clearly have so many superstars that you can basically release all of them and they could start their own promotion. Like, that's how many guys and girls you've released. So you've got more and more people. 3 hours to fill shouldn't be an issue. But here we are. SmackDown is the superior show, even though it's the same people writing it.
I always say it's just attention span for anybody. Like, we were talking last time how we don't like going to the cinema and stuff like that, sitting there watching stuff for a long period of time, because movies are far too long now. It doesn't need to be that long. Just tell me the story. Keep it, like back in the 90s, it was like, an hour 15, 90 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
Whole story done. up the road. That was good. I don't need this 3 hour stuff. And that's like 2 hours, including ads. You kind of got an hour and a half of TV work. That's doable and acceptable. When it's like 3 hours, that's 2.5 hours plus of just segments and wrestling, and it's just rematches every single week that just kills you. But like I said, we've moaned about Raw and WWE enough. So what we'll do, guys, if anybody wants to know, I love wrestling that much. That's why I moan about it. I just want it to be cool again, because it's no cool. And you feel awkward saying, you feel like a Star Wars fan. Sorry, Star Wars fans. I feel like a Star Wars fan saying, oh, now the way Star Wars fans used to feel when we were younger. Like Star Wars, and you're like
you stand out like a sore thumb.
That's what you feel like with wrestling now. But AEW, man, what's your... Since the last time we spoke, last time we were kind of still on the fence with it, because I was the same. What's your thoughts now? I know we both know GG on wrestling. He's the biggest AEW mark I've ever met.
Addict. He loves it.
What's your thoughts on it, man?
Oh, big up GG. No, it's a really good show, man. Consistently very, very good. Even sometimes going into Dynamite, when I'm looking at the card, I'm thinking, okay, mediocre looking card. But in terms of when the matches are happening, very, very good TV matches week in, week out. I was actually saying to GG and some others last week, I think, after the debut of Rampage, that what we need to still do, though, is call out AEW. Because for me, Rampage is a nice little 1 hour breezy show on a Friday night, but it looks like Dynamite. There is nothing that actually makes it look like another TV show. And yes, I know it's being recorded straight after Dynamite, and they need to still keep that exact same set because they need to record Dark and Elevation. But ultimately, you have a 3 hour Dynamite show and you're putting the last hour on a Friday night.
Yep.
That's the way I see it. And if WWE were doing something like that, we'll be calling them out, calling them cheap, this, that, and the other, going crazy. And AEW have just made us, think of hold them to a high standard with everything. I think that's why I said, I'm not happy with Rampage. I'm going to call them out about it, because we need to see a whole new wrestling show. It needs its own feel, sort of thing. But apart from that, I think it's been really good. The acquisitions they've made, the Andrades, Malachi Black, apparently Punk is coming in tonight. Bryan's coming in mid-September. It's absolutely crazy. And, this is ultimately what we wanted. We can never complain that guys and girls aren't being used in WWE. And now, everyone is signing for AEW. We want to see these guys flourish. What's the issue? You complained that you weren't seeing them in WWE, so let's see them somewhere else, sort of thing. But yeah, they've really, even with how they've managed the Forbidden Door, using other promotions, using other titles within their stories, making people relevant. I really think they've had a really outstanding year. And with the pandemic looking like it's over, crowds coming back, traveling, getting back on the road, it looks like they've got a lot more in store. So looking forward to it.
Definitely, man. It's one of the times of the week, like I said before, it wasn't my favourite show, but now it's my favourite show of the week. Like, out of everything, they do something fun. You're watching the wrestling on it, you're the story. The stories are a little bit like, you need to watch the YouTube show to understand this, and the win and loss stuff. Like you said, you do need to call them out in some of the shit that they're doing, but you're like, it's all right. I get what you mean with the different, they could do something different, like put a different ring apron on it,
that's it. Something easy to change, then you can change it. A ring apron, or maybe the ropes, or even the mat. Put something that says AEW Rampage on it. Just something easy aesthetically to make you feel like you're watching something different.
Do an old TNA and have two different entrances, so like you're just filming from one side and then change to the other.
Yeah.
But, I know, like, that's the one criticism I've really got with them is their YouTube show, Dynamite, Rampage now, all just looks the exact same, apart from like the guys that are on it. Like the YouTube show has obviously got the lesser side guys, the guys that are on it, but you've got your main guys. In Rampage, I feel in that hour, it's so easy to watch. Like, it's just that little bite size of wrestling that I need. I don't need the 3 hour show or all this stuff going on. I just need, show me 3 wrestling matches, 15 minutes each, do a segment, leave me alone. That's all I need. I don't need anything more than that.
That's exactly it. But I mean, it's gonna, you know, everyone watched it last week because it was the first ever episode. Everyone's gonna watch it this week because Punk is apparently coming. So it's gonna be very interesting going forward what the ratings of that show is gonna look like, because let's not lie, it's at a very awkward time for those in America at 10 p.m. It's a very awkward time, and even more awkward time for us in the UK at 3 a.m. So what the ratings of that show is gonna look like going forward, unless they're gonna have some type of surprise or something every single week, which is going to be very hard to keep up. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Americans, you know, they might start going out, enjoying their Friday night, and come and watch Rampage in the morning, and all of a sudden, you know, your ratings are down. So we'll see how they get on. But even like going back to just the idea of a 1 hour wrestling show, it works 100%. This is one of the things we all loved about NXT back in the day. Breezy show, couple good matches, segment done. So yeah, hopefully Rampage can really flourish. But like I said, for me, you know, we still make noise that WWE have very similar pay-per-view entrances. Remember when they used to have different pay-per-view entrances and stuff? And that's WWE. So why don't we call out AEW for the same sort of things, you know? So if we want them to get better, we have to, you know, treat them like we treat WWE ultimately, and demand these things. Tony Khan isn't a poor man. We all know that. The money is there to do it. So why aren't you doing it?
But I think that's the thing as well, is you do this out of love. Like, it's the thing that we love doing. Like, you want to nurture wrestling to be better. And people forget as well, fans moaning about wrestling is what makes wrestling good. Fans were turning their back in wrestling before the NWO and before DX and stuff like that. People were hating it. Like, it was like, this is shit. We don't want to watch this. The red and yellow Hogan, the throwing Bret Hart in there as well. People was tired of this kid stuff. And then they done the NWO, it became more edgy. More kids started watching it as well because it was edgy, because every kid wants to grow up to do what adults do, which people have forgot. But I think that's what we're at the period. Just at that point, people were hating it. We're going to be coming back. Yeah. Hopefully. I'm really, I said the exact same thing when TNA was doing their thing. I was like, I hope this could be it coming back. Then it just died, and I was like, oh shit, I was wrong. But I'm hoping, like, this time, Tony Khan has the money, and he has a lot of money, so
that's it.
Hopefully he can bring this back up. But AEW it's just fun, man, isn't it? Like, it's they have problems. There's no need to say that obviously on Twitter, if you went to some people's pages, you would see, same with WWE, like, there's nothing, everything's great. No business does everything great.
Yeah.
And AEW have some issues. They're still new. The ring rope thing could have changed that make it look cool. You know what I mean? Just add something into it. Like, even WCW Thunder looked different.
Yeah, it looked different. Exactly. Like maybe tonight, because obviously last week when we had Rampage and Dynamite, it was both at Pittsburgh, in, you know, an arena in Pittsburgh. You know, this week Dynamite wasn't in Chicago, and tonight it's going to be in Chicago. So maybe they'll do something special, maybe even just special for the night because it's Punk coming back. But yeah, like I said, you know, we would call out WWE if they were doing this kind of stuff. So it's only right. And like you're saying, this isn't coming from, at least for me and you, it's not coming from a place of negativity. I know some people online are just super negative about everything. For me, I can speak for myself. It's not coming from a place of negativity. This is about improvement and really pushing yourself. And, you know, we hear all the things about AEW is the alternative to WWE. The other day, Cody came out on AEW and said, we're not the alternative, we're the competition. Okay, so you got to start treating yourself like your competition then, innit? You got to start making, you know, the big productions and stuff like that. Things like the exploding death match. Next time you do it, you got to get it right. It's got to explode. You see what I mean? Because, you know, there's no way Vince doesn't make that thing explode. You know, someone loses their job if that happens in WWE and that doesn't explode. 100% someone's losing their jobs. So yeah,
you wouldn't go back.
Exactly.
Would just be standing there ready to go for you. But like, no,
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, you know, if AEW are the competition like they've always been, but at first they were calling themselves the alternative, if they're the competition, you've got to start, you know, behaving like big boys as well, and doing things of that kind of magnitude. Like we said, this isn't a TNA situation where it is a smaller company and all of that. This is another rich guy that's got the funds to really push this out. So, you know, yeah, come for WWE's head, literally. If that's what you want to do, come for their head.
The one thing that criticism that I've got for it as well is I feel that they're making quite a lot of mistakes the same way WCW done with hiring bigger names from the other company that everybody, Paul White, everybody knows him as the Big Show. Do you know what I mean? Like Mark Henry or like Christian, Edge and Christian. But the worst thing is like Edge and Christian, if you were to pick one, most people pick Edge. I don't know about yourself. Who would you pick, Edge or Christian, if you had to?
To be completely honest, I don't pick any of them. And if I pick Edge and Christian if they're gonna come together as Edge and Christian. I've never been an overly Edge guy or overly Christian guy, but I respect totally what they've done for the business. But yeah, I would rather take them together as Edge and Christian than separate them.
It's the same as like the Hardys as well. Like Jeff has always been the kind of edgier, cool one.
Yeah.
They have Matt Hardy. Always nothing against Matt Hardy, but it just feels like they've always got the less one, and everybody knows them as the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. It's like the Dudley Boys. Somebody having Bubba Ray, the other one having Devon. You're like, that's not the same. Like they're meant to be together. But
that's exactly it.
I just feel that's a mistake that they're falling into. But it works really well to get eyes that used to watch wrestling on the TV, like Sting. There's no need for Sting still to be on TV, and there was no need for him to take a bump through a table. You're like, calm down, and you just.
But
it works.
With the whole Sting going through a table and no selling it and standing up, I thought, okay, like I understand what they've tried to do here. It was entertaining. I did pop, but then I thought about it, like a 60-plus-year-old man just didn't sell a table spot. So, why should any of the younger guys ever sell a table spot now? It's one of them ones, but I do understand it's a bit of fun. And they just wanted to kind of not panic the crowd with, oh my God, he just took a table spot. He got up straight away. So, everyone kind of rejoiced. But yeah, I think they're finding a good way to use these guys like Paul White. I mean, I have to say, I don't like the 4-man booth on Rampage. I think it's one too many. Jericho, a lot of people have said about him shouting down, the commentary desk. I like Jericho. I like when he does that kind of obnoxious stuff. So I don't mind it, but I can understand how it can be annoying. But why don't you just leave Mark Henry to do the backstage interviewing like he was doing throughout the night anyway? Like he doesn't need to be on the commentary desk. So they're finding places for these guys here and there and where they're going to be useful. So it'll be interesting to just see how things pan out going forward.
Definitely. It's just like now that early, some mistakes that WCW are making, you can kind of relate it to the same. But I don't think they're going to fall into the same issues that WCW had. That was just because, obviously, money and Hogan and back in the olden days when there was more alcohol and drugs around than what there is in wrestling now. But like I said, I like AEW. I think it's a cool product. It's a fun product to watch. But like you said, they're Sting no selling that table. Like I popped as well. I'm a huge Sting mark. You know yourself. Sting walks out. I pop. It doesn't matter. Like you could literally just him and Taker could stand in the ring and just stare at each other. I'd scream like a little girl. But when he just stood up for that table, I was like, why was like you've got Sabu going through tables? You've got like the table has always been sold, and then you've just got Sting standing up. It's like you could have just had him get knocked down and come back out the way he used to always do. He's never went through a table and just stood back up. In WCW, TNA is different. It wasn't mainstream when he was doing that kind of stuff. But it's like you didn't need to do that. Plus,
that's the thing. They didn't even need to do the table spot, really. Like, so it's kind of like it's opened up, I would say, a small kind of worms. I think most wrestling fans get it in terms of him no selling it and getting up, and like I said, it's because it's Sting, we don't mind too much, But it's one of those things where you've opened up a conversation that you really didn't even need to do in the first place. The table spot was totally not needed, but hey.
Definitely, man. I think as well, it's just one of those like, it's a fine line, especially in 2021. You don't, if they just knock Sting clean out, like the fans would have been poor. Oh my God, what's wrong? Twitter would have been exploding. Yeah. And it's like, but that's what we want to see. It's wrestling that's meant to cause emotion. Yeah. He doesn't need to jump up and cause the emotion of, oh, he's all right. So I don't need to tweet about it. Let's make him look like he died, and then come back the next
Exactly.
week. I want to be worrying about somebody.
That's exactly. I agree with you 100%, and that's exactly, you know, I wouldn't have minded if, you know, yeah, he went through that table and lay there for a while, and then later on came back and still won the match, but you could see he was struggling or something. Yeah, that's exactly what it should be. Not every day selling everyone as a Superman, because, you know, for some people that don't understand psychology, Sting should probably be the number one contender right now if he could do something like that. So yeah, it's one of them ones. Like I said, they opened up a conversation that really and truly they didn't need to touch at all. But here we are.
Aye, it's like you said, like he went through a table, no sold it, stood up, just hit his chest. It's like that guy should just give him the belt. He's already like he's just went through a table.
Yeah,
what the hell's just that? But he'll be bringing back RoboCop soon. But let's not talk about that. But man, what's your thoughts on CM Punk? What are you going to do when he comes out? Because I'm not a huge CM Punk fan. I don't think he's the best in the world that everybody keeps saying. Same as Bryan Danielson. They had their time. They didn't peak because they were outshined by one of the biggest wrestling stars ever, John Cena, who isn't the best in the ring. No saying that the guys aren't good in the ring. He outshone them, obviously, because they're just no as sellable as what Cena was. But I'm going to pop like a wee girl when he comes out tonight. What are you going to do?
And that's it. I was literally saying to someone earlier, they said, you know, if CM Punk doesn't show up, what happens? I said, you know what? I actually won't care if he doesn't show up. It's just like whatever. Like, we'll get on with the rest of the show. But if I hear that music, if I hear Cult of Personality, I'm losing my mind. That's it. And that's what wrestling should be doing to you as a fan. Like, you know, you shouldn't take anything too seriously. You know, people were saying that, you know, if we don't see CM Punk tonight, we burn the United Center and all of that kind of stuff. Relax. That's not what wrestling should be doing to you. But yeah, ultimately, if you see this guy, then yeah, he's a big star. He's a really very, you know, big wrestling star, which wrestling hasn't seen for 7 years now. So, you know, everyone should kind of be excited, even if you never watched his first run. Just off the back of all the noise in the last month or two alone, you should be very intrigued about seeing what he's about to do. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing him. Like I said, if they pull an ultimate swerve and we don't see him tonight, it's not the end of the world. But to be completely honest, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Bryan. I want to see Daniel Bryan. Never thought I would see him outside of WWE, although yeah, he started his career outside of WWE. But yeah, I think Daniel Bryan could be what turns out to be a bit of the smarter acquisition. Punk will come in, cost AEW a hell of a lot of money, put over a lot of guys, because he definitely gets the business. But I just feel like Bryan will bring a bit more long-term quality, if you see what I mean, rather than like the immediate 6-month pop and hype that Punk will have with him.
Definitely, man. I think both those guys coming in it's good business. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan for both the guys. They're good in the ring. They just, I don't know. There was especially Daniel Bryan. There was always something missing for him.
Really,
he wins the belt at WrestleMania 30. People love it. I'm like, I don't really care.
Really? Wow, I've never heard anyone say that before.
But it's emotional. It's cool. Like, well done.
Yeah.
I just don't care. I don't think he's that great. Like, I don't know. I just it's like when everybody loves something and for some reason you don't. It's like, is it?
Yeah.
If you're out with your missing, she's like, "Oh, I love this wallpaper," and you're like, "Man,
it's all right." Yeah.
Then that's all you hear for the rest of the day. It's like,
yeah.
You like that wallpaper. Same thing with this. Like, people are like, "You don't like Daniel Bryan?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. He just has never ever worked for me."
Yeah.
I know he's good in the ring. I can see that he's good. I appreciate that he's good. That character does not work. I'm like,
fair enough.
Especially the one when he was doing like the stuff with Bray Wyatt and that kind of stuff. I was like, you know what? I'll give the guy a chance because I was going back and watching this, especially because I took a little bit of time away from watching wrestling, and then it was just around about the time I was like, you know what? I'll give him a chance. He's all right. He's not the best. But I'll put him up there, somebody that'll watch. And then done that wooden belt like
that was it for me, you know. That, like, everything before that, like you said, the Wyatt stuff, even WrestleMania 30 and everything, and I was like, okay, no, Brian's up there clearly, like, and I'd seen his Ring of Honor stuff. I said, yeah, he's definitely up there. But and then obviously the retirement happened, and I think that's what really made me a Brian fan. Just seeing a man have to give up something he absolutely loves. Like, you can see this guy absolutely loves wrestling, and that made me really kind of connect with him more. I think that's what it was, if I'm being honest with myself. And then obviously he came back. We saw the little run he done with as GM with Shane McMahon, etc. And then when he became the Planet Champion and all of that, I said, I love this guy. Like, honestly, that particular run as the WWE champion is definitely what done it for me. And, you know, even culminating in the story of putting Kofi over at WrestleMania, Kofi Mania and everything like that, that was Brian's story, you know, 4 or 5 years before.
Yep.
That, yeah, you never reached the main event and this, that, and the other. And the way it kind of flipped on his head, and Brian was the perfect person to do it, do the honors, let Kofi beat him. Yeah, that's really what cemented me as a Brian fan. Like, I just think the guy's just, you know, one of the real good guys in wrestling, gets what he needs to do. Like, I understand, you know, we no two people have to like the same person, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, for me, like I say, I think Brian will add a lot more long-term value to AEW than Punk will. Punk will add value, but his is kind of all really just hype right now, more than what he can actually bring.
Man, I totally agree with you. The worst thing with me saying that I don't like Daniel Bryan is people always think I'm doing it is that way, like, well, everybody likes him, so I'm not
Yeah.
like, no, I just have never really clicked
No, that's
with this
fair
guy.
enough. Yeah.
When he done that title run, that's the point when I was like, I hate this guy. Like, this guy is literally somebody that I hate, but it's meant to make me hate him.
Yeah, you're meant to
like,
hate him. Yeah.
That's how I like him. But see, even when he done the retirement thing, the wee speech stuff, and he was retiring and that kind of stuff, and I was like, Edge just done this like a few years before. And I was like, this is just
But then that's the thing for me. Like I said, I watched Edge's one, and I watched Brian's one, and for me, like I just said earlier, Edge was never up there for me personally. And then when he retired, I was like, oh yeah, that's a shame, sort of thing. But I remember when I was watching the Brian retirement, I was watching it with my missus. We're both like looking at each other like, who's gonna cry first, sort of thing. No, don't cry, sort of thing. Like, it was very emotional for me and my missus to stand there and watch this guy. And I think another thing is that my missus was watching is it Total Bellas or something, or Total Divas or something. She was watching that at the time. Obviously, Brian appeared on that periodically as well. So I think we all in the house anyway, we all just kind of really connected with Brian, connected with Brie, and just felt bad for them when the retirement was happening. And I think that's probably, like I say, genuinely where my love for Brian comes from more than anything.
And see, I was like, all right, that's a shame. But like, even when he talks into that comes into Total Bellas and stuff like that, and I'm like, this guy just dissed my tits in. Like, for some reason, now one of those people that you just look at, you're like, you just annoy the living hell. That's Brian for me. I hope he's a heel in AEW, because it makes it so easy for me to hate him. I don't know why.
That's crazy. I've never heard anything near that take when we come to speak about Daniel Bryan, but fair play.
Everybody thinks I'm a hipster because I'm like, no, I don't know. I just don't like the guy. Like, you put his match on, I've got my phone out, I'm bored. The WrestleMania 30 thing, wow. I've only watched it once. People go back and they're like, oh, I've watched it like 50 times. I've watched it once, and I've like, I don't care. Like, it's no,
fair enough. It's fair enough.
It's because some people have it so close to their heart, especially in wrestling, and it's like, this is the greatest moment ever, and I'm just like, nah, no for me. But it's fun to watch people cry at that. But anyway, coming up to the end of the podcast is, I'll ask a couple of questions. None of these are prepared, so I'm just making them up.
Okay. That's cool.
What's something that you're looking forward to coming over this weekend from WWE? Obviously, we know AEW is going to be the big shock, but what's something you're looking forward to? It could be WWE or NXT. What you're looking forward to?
The biggest thing I'm looking forward to, and I don't mean to start a new conversation here, I know we're ending soon, but the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is what is happening with Adam Cole. Is he staying at NXT? Is he staying with WWE, going to main roster? Is he literally going to be in the main event of Takeover on Sunday and turn up to Dynamite on Wednesday? Like, that is the biggest question on my mind. That's what I'm probably most invested in over the entire weekend.
But I think Adam Cole has to go to AEW, don't he? Like, I know they're offering them millions, but that guy just fits so well over there. If Punk goes, he's got the matches with him. Bryan, he's got matches with him. He's got Omega. Cody Rhodes, who faces everybody that comes in, so he's obviously going to get his match. You've got Malachi Black and all these guys that you can work with, and he goes to that main roster.
I mean, for me, I'll be lying if I said I don't want to see him on main roster. I do want to see him on main roster. How they're going to treat him is a different conversation altogether. So I think for me, the best of both worlds is, you know, if I'm correct, Adam Cole's maybe about 31, 32 years old. He's got time. Just don't sign like a 5-6 year contract with WWE. If you can, sign like a 2-year contract maximum. You know, see how the next 2 years plays out with you on the main roster. If they treat you well, then you can stay, you know, make your millions. If they treat you badly, then by the time you leave WWE after that 2-year contract, you'll still be about 34, 35, plenty of time to go AEW. And AEW will obviously be in a better place by then, you know, we hope as well. So, yeah, I would like to see him on the main roster, but it does seem like the wiser move would be just to get out of there while you can and head to AEW now.
Man, I just don't want to see him like make his millions, right? I would stay. You could make me Dunk the Clown. I'd be there, like, pay me a couple of million. I'll pay whatever you want. But I just don't want to see him go there and we see him against, because you can see the Miz will have a match against him. And do you really see Adam Cole going into that main event picture? Probably no. He'll just be floating around there. Like, I do a fantasy booking thing. Adam Cole got the money in the bank. He cashed it in.
Mm-hmm.
If you've not checked it out, go check it out. It's really cool. The story works better than WWE.
It definitely is. That is a route. That is a very viable route to make him a top star tomorrow. Like, they can do that straight away. So I'm down with that 100%.
But it's just, I don't know. I would rather see him in AEW. But then again, he goes over there. It's the same issue that WWE might face. There's too many talents in AEW at the minute. There's just...
But I think they understand managing their roster a lot better than WWE. So and I think we've seen that already within their first 2 years of operation. So it's like you trust them more anyway. You trust them to find a way to do it.
Like, hold this guy, you'll be good at it. And it's so surprising as well. Like, remember back when we were growing up back in the day, as in the old people are speaking here, they would send people away for 6 months, like, go sit in the house, we don't have anything for you. They're still getting paid, but they're just maybe doing house shows here and there, working something to test the crowd. WWE just don't do that anymore. It doesn't seem like they try anything. It's just like, we've got our top guys, top 18 people, and they have to be on Raw or on SmackDown every single week. Roman is the different one for that, because if he's no on SmackDown, SmackDown's genuinely shit. So you need to kind of have him there. But I think Adam Cole's got to be cool. For me, I can't wait to see Walter just...
That's going to be match of the weekend. I'm sure of it. I can't wait for that.
Man, I know you've done a video on Roman Reigns and John Cena, just changing the topic again before we finish. I get what you're saying with the story. Now, like, I don't know, for me, again, like you said, it just feels like there's so much you could have done. Like, you could have...
Bro, they literally said to us, guys, this is Roman Reigns, this is John Cena. They're going to fight at SummerSlam, and you're gonna love it. And that's it. They haven't bothered to put any story there in place. I find John Cena coming out and saying, I just need to survive. You're going to kick my ass. I just need to survive. And 1, 2, 3, then I'm going to run out of here like Punk and kiss you goodbye. I just think that's preposterous, because you've booked John Cena like a monster for years. So to make it seem like he just needs to survive is not it for me. And Roman has been so aggressive and so dominating against Kevin Owens, Cesaro, his cousins, and everything like that. Now it's John Cena. He's almost like sitting back, just like, oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah. When SummerSlam, 21st of August, yeah, I'll turn up there. He's not on the offensive anymore. And it's yeah, the match is gonna be fun. The match is gonna be great, but they have literally used these two guys' names to sell this because there's been no story told at all, which is crazy to think. Even with everything that happened back in 2017, they could have drawn upon, but no, they
It's
haven't
like
bothered.
the story's there. Like,
Yeah,
if it was me, I wouldn't have had them have a match at SummerSlam. I'd have kept it to Survivor Series. Obviously, Cena's probably filming something, but if he could be there for that long and tell a story, have Roman go to the film set and like do a little thing, or
yeah,
just drag this out and make the two of them hate each other more than like you could imagine. They're like, I don't want to be in the same building as you. That same feeling you got with Cena Rock or Rock Hogan, like they just had to fight each other. Just build it up, keep teasing it, but it is WWE. They're not gonna tease you. Like you're saying, they've just like went two action figures. These two guys, they're gonna fight, and you're gonna
that's
like
literally
it.
it. That is
And the worst
spot
thing
on.
is, I'm
Two
going to
action
like
figures.
it.
That's exactly it. This is two action figures, the best action figures you can get that we've released this year, and you're gonna enjoy this fight, and that is it. I don't need to do any other work here. I mean, just one last thing. I think Anthony Rated R for Wrestling was saying to me last night that Cena's supposed to be sticking around post SummerSlam. He's still got some dates to fulfill after SummerSlam. What I would really like to see is Finn Balor go after him, because Finn Balor is someone that they've clearly kind of got an eye on for a top spot, or at least to challenge Roman somewhere down the line. If Finn Balor could get a win over John Cena in the next few weeks after SummerSlam, if John Cena's still going to be around, like Anthony said, I think that could be extremely beneficial for Finn Balor, his career on the main roster, all of that. So yeah, I would like to see that as well.
Definitely, man. I think Finn does need that kind of big win with like a little feud or something going on there as well. Like just something to give him something to it and maybe like build a story. But
exactly,
like we say, it is WWE, so who knows where it's going to hit.
We'll
They'll probably
see.
be like, you know what, let's give him a demon psychic so we can sell it.
The demon doll.
Man, thanks for being on the show. Obviously, it's always cool chatting
No
to
problem,
you.
man.
I didn't realise an hour went by so quick, so
no problem
always,
at all.
We always end up rambling on about wrestling for a while. But the final question is, man, what video would you like somebody to go check out first of yours? What's one video you think's a masterpiece that you want somebody to go check out?
I mean, I'm still working on all my videos and trying to make them masterpieces, but I've got a really interesting series which I'm recording more videos for on my channel. We've got top fives, and we've got well, I can't remember what the other one's called now, but yeah, break it down and top fives. And you know, these aren't the typical wrestling lists that you see, you know, people just put together. We actually do these in like a debate style where I'm there in a studio with 4 other people or something, and we're actually debating who should make the top 5, like for best world champions, for, you know, and the best people that have kind of gone to AEW or whatever the case is. So, you know, active debates rather than just being told that this is a top 5 and stuff. So yeah, if you check out the top 5 and the break it downs, those are really enjoyable videos.
Definitely, man. I think your content's great. Every time I get that wee notification, I always check out. It's fun. It's intriguing. It's gets people talking, which is what we're here for. Causes more emotion than what Monday Night Raw does at the minute. So, but thanks for being on. What I'll do is I'll end the stream here. If you wait there, I'll tell you the after information.
Sure, no problem.